We're looking at very many issues.
Big picture, big guests as usual, and big conversations. Christine Mungai, the curator at Baraza Media Lab.
Dr. Joseph Mugashia.
Julius Kamau.
Professor Kibuza Kibwana.
Is corruption still as prevalent or even worse right now?
Well, I think it is more dramatic. It's really killing the country. Actually, in Africa, maybe Kenya has, many laws. Kenya has many institutions, but there is no movement. There is no real movement in terms of, fighting corruption.
I think the president did make a good foundation activity the whole week.
Ridiculous.
No, it's true though. Can you imagine as the president, you're like, all goons come to me. That's crazy. It was so weird to see people stopping trucks in the middle of the way.
One tends to wonder whether this person who's supposed to be the symbol of national unity is leaving this trail of, destruction in his wake is truly a representation of how far we've fallen in terms of society, where we become this man-eat-man society. Is it more perception than it is reality, or is there realistically a problem with the time it takes for people to get justice served in court in Kenya?
No, justice is not a cloistered virtue.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know whether you have been to Nairobi. Just go and walk. Every day is like a baraza. It's like people have come from a meeting.
Yeah.
One of the best ways of looking at how an economy is working is to look at the behavior of the working class throughout the day.
I've told you, justice is a question about perception, how you view it.
Welcome to another edition of The Big Picture. Big topics, great guests, and today the full squad is here. Back from his travails and traipses all over the world. Kijana alipanda ndege lazima tuseme, my friend.
All over the world, and the whole time it's just one country.
I know. Oh, it's just one country. Oh my God, yeah. His passport was stamped in various territories. Tom Mukwana, back from the cold. How was Norway?
It was nice. It was really nice. Cold, not too cold though. Just colder than here.
Just the right amount to make you feel comfortable.
Just the right amount to make you feel chilly and sleepy. No, but seriously, there was at 1 degrees. Not that bad, but hapa Kenya. To them, that's like proper heat. I'm talking about ikifika saa 10 hivi, everyone is out in the cafes, at bars, short skirts. Shorts, everyone's chilling. The sun is
short skirts.
I said two shorts.
Not to go down the list of
focus on the list.
No, right? I'm just saying, we are fact checking one another.
The list is very DEI, right? It has everything: shorts, skirts, socks, all those things. But generally,
even the socks are short.
Yeah, even you know how I don't want to take jabs on people from there, but ikifika 1 degrees, that's literally their spring starting. So I just missed winter by maybe a week. So the ice was still not.
Lucky you. But I'm hoping that everything that you are going to do there will kamilika vizuri.
Vilivyo.
So ulikuwa ameenda kufanya nini?
It was
left us here for 2 weeks.
Yes.
I know. But the first week was a training we were doing in Accra. The second week was the conference I was speaking about.
So you flew from Kenya to Accra to Norway?
No.
Hey, my friend.
No, I came back to Kenya. East or West home is best.
Kampuni, I forgot.
But yeah, it's nice to be back.
Nice to see you back. And right next to me is Justine. Tumekuwa na yeye. So hakuna story. Okay, Justine, what did you do? Okay, what did you do with your weekend? Let's get it over with. Yeah, tell us.
I was with CJ, my
okay, that's enough.
So,
tuendele. And my name is John Allen. Now, when you're Justine, seriously, what did you do with your weekend?
I just hung out with my family. I tried to sleep. I couldn't, but I went to a listening party for an album for an artist that I really love. He's called Manifest. He's a Ghanaian rapper. I've
so
been
yeah.
yes, I've been listening to him since 2012, and I got to meet him, and I have a video of him just hugging me 50 times. So that really warms my heart. And yeah, I spent time with my family, that too. But Manifest.
Shout out to Justine's family. When Manifest is gone, that family is all you have.
Yeah.
So that appreciation is coming from us, excluding her.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I'm not hating, eh? No, I'm not hating.
What did you do?
No, I don't know Manifest.
You don't know who Manifest is?
I don't.
You don't listen to African music, do you?
I do. Like, why are you hating on me like that? Like,
because if
just
you
Say one artist.
No, we feel like that's easy.
No,
Well,
people who
let
are
me
alive. People
Okay.
who are alive.
Davido. Let's go down the list of commercial ones. Okay, so tuanzia Kenya, Bien.
Yeah. But I think Manifest was featured on a Sauti Sol album.
Yes,
Was he?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
could be wrong.
He is actually like one of the most prominent, I think, West African integrations into East African music that we saw in like the first wave when Afrobeat was actually starting out.
Okay.
Yeah, he was.
Okay,
I'm going
name
everywhere.
a song. Maybe I'll.
He has a song with Kampula that's really popular, and I think that's how a lot of Kenyans got to know him. Yes.
Sing it. Just so that
What?
Don't fall for it.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know this artist. I love you. Try it
But
back
he's a
for
cool
me.
rapper. He's really
Yes.
he's,
Is
he's
he?
good. I think the
He's
thing
really
that
good.
stands out for me is he's poetic with his
Very.
rap. So yeah.
And fun fact, his grandfather was an African music historian. So he grew up in a household where it was like the culture, it was part of the conversation.
Like you're a real
outsider.
like fan. You're not
Yes.
hey, mini fan wako.
No. I'm a real one.
Okay.
OG.
Well done.
Yes.
Manifest. What's the big picture? You've got a real fan here. So next to Kendrick's, there's Manifest now.
Next, up to next.
Hapo hakuna mtu hapo katikati.
I will reserve my comments for now.
In trouble.
All right. And today we've got a great guest with us on set. What's happening with it's this Manifest discussion that just put me all over the place. On set with us, legal mind, lawyer, comedian. Have I called you a lawyer and you're not a lawyer?
No, I am.
Oh, you're a lawyer. Okay, so Anthony Ngashira or Tai Ngashira, sindio? Have I
Nga.
Ngashira?
Yeah.
That's the one name that I thought I was not gonna
It doesn't have the.
It doesn't have okay.
Yeah,
All right.
accent.
So Ngashira.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us on set.
Yeah.
Hey man, the height on that you're achieving with your boxes.
It's
Putting some of us to shame, eh?
Inbox. Fresh Prince. Fresh Prince.
Yeah. And we're gonna have a great time this evening, discussing all sorts of things from all parts of the world. I say great time, but I say it advisedly because there's a lot of nasty stuff that's been happening. I don't know if you've been noticing. First of all, that first time that this has happened. So 3 journalists were sent to the front lines by Africa's, should we call him now, like Africa's blue-eyed boy come military junta leader, Ibrahim Traore, him who has all sorts of, inspo videos on YouTube and what have you, being the inspiration for, people calling for the African Renaissance, doing things the African way, etc., starting to bear his claws, or has been bearing his claws, and 3 journalists who are critical of that regime were sent to the front lines to fight against Islamist militants. And you can imagine what that was like. Tom, first of all, even in a street fight, are you able to handle yourself?
No, actually. you see, I'm humble enough to know. Yeah, I'd die. I'd die. Like, I'll probably get choked or killed somewhere there. But
No, I'm glad that you accept yourself. Try, if you were in a position like that,
Yeah.
what would you do?
I don't know, stop, drop, and roll. No, I feel like, I think deep down, like, if any man who's sent to a battlefield, whether you want it or not, is like, let me go to the blaze of glory of sorts, you know.
Yeah,
At this time,
and it
like,
finishes.
yeah, you're like, he didn't. The last memory of me can be like, Aki see Mimi. It's like, no, that the last memory.
Aki see Mimi.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
was-
a soldier.
No,
Mimi
because
mwana
I was
habari.
just journalisting, you know. So-
Just.
yeah, but I think it's totally unfair. I don't even know what I do in that space.
You know, that's the sad thing about this entire story is the amount of hope that's been placed on I was going to say soldiers, but shoulders of Ibrahim Traore's Burkina Faso in terms of the many things that we read online, only to see this very dark side of him emerge. And it reminds me a little bit about of Thomas Sankara himself. You know, he obviously the famed African revolutionary from that country as well, starting out on the same note, like, making sure that cabinet secretaries drive a certain standard of car, cancelling foreign trips, doing stuff with agriculture, and then starting to institute programs like forcing people to become teachers, etc., like conscripting people to become teachers by force, eventually leading to his downfall, right? So it again, I hate to quote David D, but this is like one of those examples that you can't resist saying. History repeats itself. It doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, right? In terms of the, so if you were in a position of any authority in Burkina Faso, and you had the opportunity to have this kind of a conversation with an Ibrahim Traore, young guy, right? Like, how old are you, Tai?
I'm 32.
So you guys are literally the same age. I think it's like 32, 33.
Thank you for reminding me about how underachieving my life is.
No, wait. Yeah, you can, by the way.
Burkina Faso.
So don't play him now.
We have an embassy here. I wonder. And if they're watching, I'm wondering how they're feeling about that comment.
They don't speak English.
Oh my God. Anyway, it's Freedom of Expression Day on this show today. Yeah, but like, seriously speaking, what would it's a tough position to put anybody in, but like, what would the conversation be like with a guy like that? So he supposedly means well for the country, but then he has to do these kinds of things, or chooses to do these kinds of things.
I think there's a lawyer who died this week. His name is Feroz Neruji.
Yes.
And one of his quotes he said was, tyranny is not very creative. So generally, what's happening has happened before. Like, tyranny never has new tactics. It's the same thing over and over. So with him, I think that's if he listens. It would be a question of, your heart may be in the right place, but there's a reason why the army stays the army. Your job was to transit, because the army does not understand democracy via bureaucracy and like, okay, and what do you think, sir? And what do you think, sir? It's very like, it's very hierarchical and structural. So like, it's good to force out a dictator, but it's hard to now tell them, okay, now, guys, this is how we want it to be. So what the army does not want to hear is questions of, why should we? They don't want to hear why. They're like, this is how it ought to be done.
What Amri?
Yeah. So generally, that will always be the problem with very few military guys get into power and decide, now I'm going to give the civilians. That's why Sudan is where we are, Mali, Guinea. So at its core, it's to tell him, either leave the army and run for president, and let's see if the people love you as much as you think as you do, or just go back to the army and let someone else run this. You go fight those guys,
those militants.
Yeah, those militants, and then but like, we know you have a heart for your country.
Yeah.
But we don't want to feast right now. We want to papase sa kidogo. It's good. We liked you when you are dealing with the French and everything. But please look inward. Yeah.
Handle us with care, Kiasi.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about the quality of leaders that we had in generations past. I mean, not to paint too broad a brush, but people like Olusegun Obasanjo, Jerry Rawlings, they handed power back to civilian rule. That's quite something, given that if you're in charge of this part of government and you have monopoly of the state, you could essentially rule Kimuseveni forever. Justine, are you one of those Traore like diehards, and what did you make of this?
Honestly, I just think for every single, I think the entirety of this continent, and even I think the world over, people keep thinking there's a hero that's coming to save them. Like, people keep thinking if they just put their trust and their belief in someone, like that guy is going to show up doing all the right things, listening to all the right people, making all the right decisions. But unfortunately, every single country is not run by a single person who knows everything. It is run by experts in different fields who, if you harness their expertise correctly, you can actually get to where you're going. And people don't want to do the hard everyday work. They like that savior thing. But when it comes to the real deal, where you have to kind of control the power that you now have, or be a lot more willing to stop and ask, is this the right decision? Or like, am I just listening to my own voice? A lot of leaders are not willing to do that. So that's why history keeps rhyming. Because I feel there's no one who's willing to take a step back on very difficult issues and question why they're making those decisions. They want to make them, and everyone should fall in line.
You know, Tom, there used to be this advertisement for some tires. I can't remember which one it was, and it was the slogan was "Power is nothing without control." And this is like one of those moments where we have to contend on the continent with the rawness of power versus and what it can do to move a country forward versus the limits and the guardrails that we have to put on power to ensure that in the process we aren't all just mashed up and burnt, you know, alongside it. When you saw the news, seeing journalists then in military fatigues being interviewed about going to the front lines,
They were proper interviews.
like it's for real,
Like the
like
pictures.
no, it's mad. It's mad. Yeah, like the three guys, like in Paka out, they've been shaved, makruka. Like it's
Jordan.
Tulikuwa tunaitanga Jordan. Like, as you know, speaking out to perhaps this moment in Africa where you have this example that rises from a part of Africa that sometimes we don't even expect that kind of leadership would arise, juxtaposed against what he does. What conversation are you having with the young Africans about the kind of expectations that they should have for their leaders?
First of all, it's what Justina said. Avoid thinking of someone as a savior. And Justine would know this because there's this Kendrick song where he says,
guys,
come on, man.
Kendrick is extremely relevant in everyday life.
That's a Pulitzer-winning rapper.
Okay.
Do you have a Pulitzer?
Sawa.
Do you have a Pulitzer?
I know.
Okay, now listen to him, okay?
Sawa, sema.
Kendrick akona kalasha.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
So he says this. He says he names a bunch of people and says he's not your savior.
Yeah.
And this is because a lot of us, if it's black people, if it's Africans, if it's Asians, we like to, and I'm mentioning particularly disadvantaged communities and populations, we like to think of specific people as our saviors. So in Africa right now, go on Twitter and search Pan-Africanism, you'll see a video of Ibrahim. Him in slow motion, probably with some flashy colors and his handshakes and how firm they feel.
At Macron.
Exactly. And it almost feels similar to what Trump is doing, but just at a more African level. But then you look at what he's doing to journalists, and you'd remember this because we were at a forum sometime in December, and someone was speaking from Burkina Faso, and they were saying, you can't record what I'm saying. And this is
like
in a
for
foreign
real,
land.
like in a forum in South Africa, no cameras, and you're told, hey, guys, please.
Repeatedly, by the way. She doesn't just say it when she starts speaking. Whenever she's about to speak about something, she asks you not to record. Turn off the camera. And that's... So at that time, I had this view of Ibrahim when I went there. But then after that, speaking to that person, and they say, if I said anything negative about him and his regime, and that video went out, I'll probably be sent to war. And also, a few days ago, another Burkina Faso journalist, and he said that he's in exile right now in Sweden, and he can't go back home. He hasn't seen his family in 6 years. And he can't go back home because if he goes home, he's going to the front lines.
Yes.
100%.
Immediately.
Can I just say, I think it's really weird that his whole approach to dissenting voices, it's like, I'm going to use like that King David, and
Send him to the
yeah,
front line.
I'm just going to send you to the front line and good luck. That's so weird. Like, it's very almost biblical in the way it's structured.
But
where
it's also very simple in arguments. Because the argument is, if you speak trash about the government, then go and do better
Then
on the
go
front lines.
to the front line with the army now.
That's so crazy.
I mean, we
like
have-
we trust you to fight them. You're probably a soldier, but I'm not saying that because I think you're less than. Yeah.
Because Michuki also offered to do the same to journalists during the Mungiki fight against Mungiki. He was like, tell the journalists, okay, do you want me to take you and you fight them guys yourself? Like that strong arm thing happens a lot.
Exactly. I was going to say there are very many lo-fi examples of the same kind of thinking here on a continent. I mean, not here in a country, but for me, the takeaway is systems, not saviors. Like, build a system that can outlive you. Build something that can multiply, the impact of what it is that you're trying to do. This is why, even in Tanzania, the work, and I say this advisedly, that Magufuli did prior to his death, a lot of it is now being eroded because none of it was systemic. It was all, like, it's me who did it.
And it's the same also in Ghana.
Yes.
Kwame, and the education system there is really robust. We are dwarfed in comparison to them. And that's because he valued education and he set up systems that valued that. And you can see it in Ghanaians when they're speaking overseas. A lot of these professors in these international universities come from Ghana. And that's a result of systems actually working and ideologies, not just...
and shea butter.
Okay, we have two comedians on set today, by the way. So if there's lots of jokes,
It's raining jokes.
Yes, please. All right, so let's move on quickly, guys. We spent more time than I expected that we would spend on Burkina Faso, but we've got a couple of things back home to talk to. So Moses Kuria again on a political soapbox, talking about perhaps a more simple way of getting everybody enrolled into SHA is to deduct the M-Pesa. 30 bob, was it 20 bob to 30 bob, right?
Yes.
Every month.
Yes.
Right, so that they could be enrolled, So let me take devil's advocate position here and say, what's so bad about getting people to pay like that, right? So you don't have the money up front. You need the health care.
Yeah.
But and it's heavily subsidized, right? Shouldn't the solution be, okay, so you just do this. You just survive on the 20 bob. But the day you get sick, we are here for you. And this is Moses Kuria's pitch to Kenyans across the country. I know, Justin, ni wewe ulichangia hii topic, so I know you have views and points and rebuttals.
Okay, I'll say, first of all, Moses Kuria's assets are being auctioned, so I don't think we should be taking economic advice from someone like this. And secondly, it's a very... No,
Anyone needs it now.
Okay, he actually, I don't know if he has 20 bob in his M-Pesa right now, it's probably being auctioned. But still, if we really think about it, a lot of people who are either low income or live on daily wages, sometimes that 20 bob is probably the only 20 bob you have. And some people have to really think about their finances on every day, like, do I give this 20 bob to my child for food? Do I save this and then wait for a little more so that I can get fare to go and make more money and send it?
But it's a safety net, everybody benefits if everybody contributes.
That's what I mean. First of all, SHA has proven again and again that it's not providing healthcare. So I don't know which healthcare they're talking about, but the doctors are on the streets. Student doctors have literally been dying by suicide, and they're being given mental health instead of paychecks. No one is taking care of the people who are supposed to be giving healthcare to regular Kenyans, right? And then this cascades to hospitals are under-resourced. We have systems that are essentially not working. So the healthcare system in itself is already in trouble, right?
I get that, and I agree that we have a problem, a systemic problem with SHA.
Yes.
Right? But what I'm being, perhaps I'm over theorizing this thing is that maybe the philosophy behind what he was talking about is we all need to pitch in. With whatever we have, we all need to pitch in if this thing is going to work.
It's true, but I don't think this is how, like, the healthcare system, I don't think that's how SHA is structured. Because they're saying even if people pay, and this is, I think, one of the people who was in the committee when they were telling them this SHA thing is not going to work. They were saying even if you collect the money, you people have not figured out how that digital system even recognizes a patient enough for the money to even get to the hospitals. So even if I pitch in the 20 bob, and the money does not reflect, my name is not in the system, what is that money supposed to do? So that's my biggest problem with this. It's like they're not even trying to resolve the issue that they have already for a system that is 100 and what billion?
104 billion
Yeah,
shillings.
over the course of I don't know how many years. That's a lot of money to ask a country to give.
Hiyo 20 bob imetolewa.
So if so if you think about it,
Moses amesema asante. Carry on.
so
Yes.
if you really think about it, it's like you're taking the 20
Ndio hiyo
bob, right?
imeenda. Okay.
But what does the 20 bob do? If it's just going to leave my account so that I know, oh, when I show up to the hospital, I'm actually going to get healthcare, then I'm all for it. But your name is not even showing up in the system. And this is not just like an isolated problem that has happened to a few people. It has happened to a lot of people across the country. The people who are showing up to hospitals, they have paid for SHA. And they're being turned back because it's not reflecting.
So fundamentally, then, the question we're talking about isn't so much the suggestion, is it do we trust that the suggestion or any sort of policy in the direction of trying to be able to sort out SHA can be done, can be implemented by this current set of leaders, given their track record thus far. That's how I'm seeing it. I don't know what you think.
I don't think I'd support Moses Kuri on that because not even if you are the best people in the world, it's because the M-Pesa money you have, like SHA should be deducted from your income, right? M-Pesa is very transactional so there's a great presumption that the money that's in your M-Pesa is an income, something from your income. You see, no, it could be we were contributing to someone's funeral. We were like, it's ideally it's just it's a conduit.
Tom, focus.
These guys from Norway.
My God, there's so many things people contribute to. Yeah, you don't contribute to Nzinga. Anyway, continue.
Is this the best that Kenya could send to Norway?
I wonder.
Anyway.
I wonder. Surely.
Yeah, so because we see with taxing is easy. We know that we tax you from your employer, and that's where the income comes. So unless where we can say maybe every time I'm going to fill out my tax at the end of the year, maybe 12 times 20 is what? 480 shillings a year. Maybe if there's a way we can 240 shillings. If there's a way we can get a way to pay when we're doing that tax part.
Yes.
That becomes a contribution to SHA, but not randomly at any money that I think may be around you that I should tax.
Okay, Tom, you've looked at various tax laws, amendments, etc. And does this kind of fit in the mold of Kenya Kwanza's approach to taxation, where, like Tai says, nikinusa pesa hapo hiyo? Exactly.
It doesn't. It doesn't, because
also this is separate completely.
The promise is universal healthcare coverage. That was what was in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, right? We didn't get clear descriptions of how that would be achieved. And in the lead up to that, NHIF, which was a failing system on its own, we got this replacement that will have to start from scratch. And for how long has it been since it was the High Court ruling that allowed it to go to October?
I'd be lying if I said
yeah, but it's been many months, right? Yeah. And for me, it's less a question of are people contributing to it? Is it working for those who are even contributing? Like in general, is this thing even working? And I think that argument here, you're not contributing, you guys are not signing up for this thing, you're not pulling your money together, is a very cheap argument, when the argument should be, is this thing actually working? Because if it works for you, Jan, and I see it working for you, what's stopping me from signing up? If anything, it's going to get
But
me involved.
You know, actually, I think the problem with SHA was baked into it from the beginning with the kind of deductions that are being given to the third party that's managing SHA, because they're getting, I believe,
5 shillings per transaction, I think.
per transaction, or 2.75% of what have you, based on a nominal figure of X number of people who subscribe to the system. But fewer people subscribe, so there's less money, and therefore Kenya's government is going at a loss, essentially.
pay for these
and they
things
have to sort of step up and pay, and that gap is not being talked about. So every time you hear SHA, it's always like a money-raising venture, as opposed to going back to the drawing board and looking at the contract and saying, look, this formula doesn't work.
Exactly.
Because in my view, any government that offers or even considers the possibility, and I say this advisedly, any government that offers or even considers the possibility of providing universal health care for its citizens is doing a good thing, right? However, the question is what their intentions are behind that, and how they've baked this cake that is called SHA that they're offering to everybody is what I have a question with. And that's why it goes back to the question of trust. Fundamentally, like, do you trust that these guys were acting in your best interest when they put SHA together? If they're putting it, if they're creating a system that's 104 billion shillings worth, right? And we all know that the systems could have been created for far less. And then banking on a salaried population as the anchor sort of, contributor, and then figuring out ways as we go along, tutawapata hapa njiani. Si wanaona hii kitu inafanya kazi, so, let's just try and collect. That for me is the issue, right?
I also think, before you jump in, Justine, I think the socialist manifesto that was baked inside the Kenya Kwanza manifesto and what has been delivered since August 2022 are completely different things. I think at the center of it, it's profit-making left, right, and center in every direction. Because if you come to a rally and you promise Kenyans that you won't have to give me anything, I'll make this system work for you, and they give you a vote and you win the election, then 3 months later you come back and tell them, oh, actually I need a percentage of your income.
But to be fair, guys, Baba promised guys 6,000 bob. Do we remember this promise? I know that he's not the president. However, pie in the sky promises are not just the province of Kenya.
Of Kenya Kwanza.
That's
laptops as well.
Yes. I am Kwanza, he's on laptops.
Okay.
Sorry, yes.
When we speak about like universal healthcare coverage, I think the thing that we should actually be trying to achieve is universal healthcare access. People should be able to access the healthcare. If you're asking me to give you money and I do not see a doctor in my vicinity, I only see a doctor every 50 weeks. What is that?
50 weeks is cold, man.
No, it's true, because there are people who have to travel to other counties, especially if you need the health services of a specialist, or like you have a specific kind of illness that's not maybe like in your area, maybe like the 2 or 3 people who suffer from this illness. There are people who have to travel, which is added costs. The SHA is not going to cater for that. And we've seen NHIF used to cater for like some very specific services, and they've been cut down in SHA. So even if you're asking people to contribute, if the access is not there, people don't trust that system to cover them.
Okay. Tai, what are your thoughts about this contribution issue? And
if you know how when government collects tax, it collects for roads, collects for everything. Part of me would have been like, let the SHA be part of the payee. Like increase payee to a certain amount. If it's like 16%, 17%, right? So we don't have to worry about did I contribute this. So we assume if you pay payee, you've paid part of SHA. Because when I pay, I don't pay. Okay, this one will go to healthcare. This one is for paying minister. This one is for paying what? So a separate. Tax is not my per se forte, or 50 or 60, but okay, in mapenzi ya dhate. But I'm saying you get to a place where you realize that if it's going to be universal, I don't think we need an extra cut for that. They'll just be part of the block tax. So hospitals don't say we don't get enough SHA. The hospitals just talk to KRA. They don't talk to us now.
I think like in terms of categorizations of tax, and again, I'm no tax expert, but for me, at least anecdotally, why I think those categorizations are helpful is because even just to feel like, okay, this month I have also contributed to na ni mimi nimelipia this amount. You get that? That's how it makes me feel. But I totally understand the argument about just having like one block tax, and then the government says, okay, these are the segmentations that we're going to go through to be able to get our share. And ultimately, you know, it's this constructors, engineers approach to everything, right? So we want to provide healthcare. Let us build a system, fine, but not talk about the access. We want to provide education. Let us spend 8 years building a system, but not thinking about the teachers, right? So it's you know, systems, for, people for systems, and not systems for people. You know, that's, for me, I think that's the approach and the philosophy that kind of needs to change. Guys, we need to push on. One last thing before we get to our topic of the day. Marco Rubio, United States Foreign Secretary, says that you know, that every country must accept. Let me just quote him directly. Every country must accept the return of its citizens in a timely manner when another country, including the United States, seeks to remove them. He said this in a statement, adding that South Sudan's transitional government has failed to fully respect this principle. So essentially talking about returnees, not, you know, people who've been deported not going back. And this also, I think, being tied to the failure by the side represented by Riek Machar and Salva Kiir to hold to the comprehensive peace agreements that they made in 2018. I don't know, so there's multiple arguments about the approach that the United States is taking to diplomacy. It's not like a sledgehammer to everything. Like, you guys don't like us, we're going to, you know. And what that does... Sorry?
That's his best impression of Trump.
Who?
Justin was dying inside.
Oh, no, no, I wasn't even doing the impression of Trump. I wasn't doing. I was about to, like, you know, you stole my moment, Tom. I was about to take the. Anyway, so for me, it's that question about this new approach, right, to diplomacy. On the one hand, you can see how it upends lives. You can see, like, with the USAID thing and what have you, like the things that, you know, how things changed. But on the other, and again, maybe I'm being too, I don't even know what the word to describe what I'm being. But on the other hand, doesn't a country have a right to tell people, you've been here too long. You've been, you know, you've been messing around with our laws. Get out. Like now, and if you don't get out, we're going to punish your country. I try now. This is now wading more into your end of the pool, because this is a legal question.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. A country does have the right to, like, clearly, Black Lives Matter, but not like Black Sudan. You know, Lives Matter. Yeah, and I'm also wondering, like, now where will they? Well, I'm hoping their capital, Lavington, will take them back. Now here we are in the capital of South Sudan right now.
Oh,
so anyway. One thing I'd say is, yes, America has the right to, anyone who, even in Kenya, we have the right to repatriate you back to wherever you came from if you don't follow our laws. But, but I think one thing that we should also have realize is, why did they come? So say, if I came because I'm escaping a dictatorial government that has to do all those things, like, is it human rights based? Was my life in danger in the country where I was from, right? So I think we should have like a case-by-case basis. They're true, they're just South Sudanese guys or Nigerians or Kenyans who are just criminals. Went on a tourist visa, Akalenga.
And they're there.
Yeah, and they're hoping for citizenship eventually, right? And you know, understand for Trump, it's because his party understands that if most immigrants, if their citizenship is processed through, they like to be voted out because the other party is the one that is more pro-immigration, right? So it's a political move for him as first. But I think the guys who suffer in the middle are the guys who are like, okay, I escaped, I was in Iran, I refused to wear a headscarf, and will I be taken back? Riek Machar wants me dead back here. Do I go back? What do I do? So countries may be obligated, but I think we need a case-by-case basis of, okay, when I fill this in, where did I say I'm coming?
Yeah.
And then we can sort that out from there, yeah.
Okay, Justine?
I think one of the funniest parts, at least for me, about every single discussion, especially when it comes to immigration, people act like the US immigration system has just been like, come in. It's like so hard to get in there. People... Legally. Legally. It just takes forever. And people even who like kind of like use backdoorsy methods, they're usually found, they've been deported. It's not that some of these things have not happened before. Like the immigration system is probably one of the harshest in the world for a lot of people, especially if they have some kind of connection there and they're trying to connect with family, or they're doing the right thing so that they're not abusing the system.
Yeah.
It's not that easy. But then when you're sending someone back to their country, and as Taya said, like on a case-by-case basis, someone's life could be in danger. I think the weirdest part is like, you guys are assuming South Sudan is like a functioning country. It's not like like our friend Akau says all the time, when you go to South Sudan, there's no system.
Yeah, I can't go to South Sudan. I mean, and I'm being serious about this, but anyway.
You understand? Like he tells us, our friend, he's South Sudanese, he tells us like the system is not anything. It's like a bunch of friends who get together to help you get something. So imagine trying to get like the immigration process to be reversed in a country like that. It's difficult because sometimes you don't even know who you're talking to on the other end of the line. So it becomes very difficult for you to say, oh, the transitional government is refusing to take people back. Maybe there's no one there. Maybe they don't even have an existing department. Maybe it's underfunded. Maybe like there's all these very many structural problems that a country that, quote unquote, has a functioning system thinks everyone operates exactly like them.
Yeah.
But again, at its core, it's people's lives falling through the cracks, like Ty said. It's someone whose life is in danger, someone who might not even have a home to go back to. Those are the people who are at risk of falling through the cracks of immigration.
And this one I'll ask of Tom, but is it the United States' responsibility to be the human rights defender of the world, given how much of a melting pot it is and how many cultures exist in it? Is it the job of the United States to then now protect everybody's rights at the expense of some of the practicalities of defending their territorial integrity, crime, etc., just to lean in a little bit into the conservative argument as to why, the South Sudanese, and it'll be El Salvadorians next time, it'll be someone else, right? To lean into that logic. Someone might say then, yeah, but it's not, I'm not the world police, I'm not the moral police. I have laws and I want my country to be defended, on this front. What are your thoughts?
I think, well, the United States has been that for, I think, decades, right? Because when did they independence? 18? 18?
Yeah?
It's 17 something, right?
Right? Or something
And it's
like
been a functioning democracy ever since.
Let me check. Yeah,
Functioning,
okay.
Democracy is up for argument, but
Functioning,
it's functioning.
Both what?
It works.
I'm saying both functioning and democracy.
Yeah.
Okay. So it works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
To some degree, it works.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for people. Healthcare is
1776, sorry.
776.
Yes.
1776.
Yes.
So how many years is that? That's like 200 plus.
Many.
It's many years.
I was bad at math. Yeah, sorry. I'm just making this admission here.
It's fine. It's fine.
Mina
We're not going to
Joho,
come for you.
beards and maths.
Please.
But what I'm saying is the United States has been that for the whole world for very long, and it's effectively done that job. Well, how effective they have been at maintaining democracy in these countries is up for debate.
Yeah.
Because CIA activity in Africa, the results of it. We know the history in the Middle East, and we also know South America. And it has its hand in every country that is, we can even argue, destabilized. Right? Look at South America. if
Grew
you
up in South America.
You know, we have a citizen.
You guys
of the
are not
world
going to
here,
let
just
go of
revealing.
this.
Yeah,
But-
I was born in Mexico. Yeah,
but in
Peter
South-
was my neighbor.
yeah, she actually was, but that's yeah. But you see, South America is destabilized. Countries like Honduras, Ecuador, Mexico. Look at Mexico. The gang violence there. Where did the weapons come from? The United States. Look at Afghanistan. Who went into Afghanistan? The United States.
Well, to be fair, I mean, there was also
there was
Russia
also-
as well.
yeah.
Afghanistan is a bit of a graveyard
Yeah,
of
that's,
empires.
All
so-
of them.
Yeah.
All of them had a part to play,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Libya.
Oh well.
Well, if I say this on national television, and this ties back to immigration and how it's being done, if I say this in United States television and I was an immigrant, there's a good chance I'm going to get deported. Not because I broke any law, but because I criticized the United States government. And a good example is the student from Columbia University.
Was it Tufts? Was it? I think it was Tufts, like a PhD student. The one who was arrested on the street.
Yes, at Columbia.
No, I think,
and there's
I think he meets Mahmoud.
yeah,
Oh, Mahmoud. Okay, not okay.
There's
Yeah.
the Asian lady. I think she's Chinese as well.
Yeah,
That held a
So there's
pro-Palestine.
more than one.
There's
actually.
many.
I
Yeah.
think they're up to 10 now.
Yeah, just get deported because you mobilized a protest against U.S. support of Israel.
I don't think it was just because of that, but yeah.
What else do you think?
No, because as I know, I'll sound like I'm not pro-Palestinian, but I'm saying there was footage of them like making sure like Jewish students don't get into their classes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it's okay. It's one thing. They were not just because they had a flag.
Yeah.
It was like we are disrupting. Like we are going to shame every person who's Jewish. We're going to do all those things. But I think we should dissociate those cases from the South Sudanese case because the South Sudanese case is unique because the US has said that because of what your country has done, your citizens who are legally here, we are taking them back. You see, not because they've done any wrong.
Yeah.
You see, it's different from
all those other things that happen,
all those are. So I think we should treat those issues very differently.
And it's very Trumpian in terms of the approach. You create pressure for leverage to be able to
exactly.
negotiate. And it's sort of like a full circle moment because people forget how instrumental the United States was even for the en masse sort of like, what do you call it? I was going to say shipping, but no. Like flighting of lots of South Sudanese refugees
Out of
to
South
the
Sudan,
United States out of that situation. So how the times have changed is just incredible. But it's
imagine yourself as somebody who's lived their entire life in the U.S.
peacefully, right? And only for your legitimacy in that country to be questioned.
Not because of your actions, but because of their actions.
So I'm saying that case is
it's a different
a
one.
very different issue from they're not illegal immigrants. They're not, they're it's very clearly if you don't do this, I'm taking back. And also it's because he knows that most people who are there are like their dads and moms are like big in the South Sudanese government, so he wants to hurt the. But
yeah, okay.
It's anyway an unfortunate point, but it's kind of like a cousin to what it is that we want to discuss today in terms of kinds of freedoms that people enjoy, and you know, folks, the topic we wanted to discuss is really freedom of expression in what seems to be the hardening of the Kenyan state. So a number of like really, I don't want to put any sort of like value judgments on it just yet, but a number of very interesting events that I don't believe have happened before took place. One, the CDF, General Kahariri, you know, as well as the NIS director, as well as the Deputy Inspector General, Masangeli, all coming out to talk about this, you know, shift, what do you call it, changing of power in Kenya via constitutional means, and that nobody should even try and think about, you know, changing, removing leaders via constitutional means, but more than that, doing it in a political sort of like context. It's bad enough that we are in a highly, highly politicized moment right now, where even the constitutional mandate of a CDF, in saying so, would be challenged just in regular, you know, in a highly charged political context. But then for the step forward to be taken to do it within a particular political context is kind of like weird and begs the question about our, you know, our freedom of expression. Then after that, there's the whole Butere girls, you know, man, I don't even know what to call this, right? So girls are recalled because of a play that's speaking to the moment. So Ty, why we thought of you as a guest is for
Intelligent, thoughtful,
well,
charismatic.
that might be that might be why you thought of yourself as a guest. I can tell you now, right?
Continue.
Yes. So why we thought of you as a guest was because you kind of sit at this very interesting nexus. You're both a lawyer, right, who understands the limits and the bounds of Kenya's constitution and its laws, but you're also a comedian, right, who stretches specific parts of our constitution via your freedom to express yourself on stage. I got the opportunity to watch him during your special, Wacha Niseme Nitoke. And I think that's like even like the more perfect sort of like irresistible. Okay, you were there too, Justin. Ameniangalia na macho ya huruma. Yeah. Some people said by then, but yeah, anyway, right? And I wanted you to sort of comment about these times, right? Starting with, I know it's been some time since that special, but what was your logic behind, creating a special like that in a pressurized political moment such as this?
By the time I wrote that special, it was when guys were being kidnapped. Remember when Baba Billy was in court crying for his son? So when I wrote that special at that time, it was at the height of when the guys would come out from being abducted, and then they'd do interviews. Yeah. And then they'd say, like, nothing happened at all, but then they're shaved, they have bruises. And then there's just some random boda guy standing next to them, making sure they're kneeling. And I'm like, guys, you're not seeing, like, clearly you're not seeing how this happened. So a big part of the philosophy of what I do around comedy is something that I always say, that when you can laugh at something, it can scare you. So when you can laugh in the face of tyranny, it loses its aura, its mystique. So also at that time, it was because when in school I had written a paper around freedom of expression, and when I was doing a TV show, it was a big part of it was I'd been to Tanzania to do some comedy, and when I did a political joke, the whole room just went
dead silent.
Dead silent.
This was Samia's time. Yes, it wasn't even Magufuli's time. Okay.
So it went silent. It wasn't even like a bad joke. It was a joke actually about. It was a joke about how when Uhuru was in his last term, we kicked him out of Twitter because for Kenya we celebrate freedom of expression, right? It was a joke about how, so I'm telling the East African guys this, the Burundi guys like, hey, what is Twitter even? This guy's like, our whole president, right? And then Tanzania guys like, freedom of expression, nini. And then I had to explain to the Ugandan guy, a presidential last term is actually, so a very like on the surface level joke, right?
That's not a bad joke, I have to say. It's not a bad joke, yeah.
So now, when I got to there about making a joke about them not having freedom of expression, you could even feel the aura has shifted. Now, people are looking like this too. Then I realized. Then I went back to doing like dating jokes. Kabisa. Like you could tell how everything had gone back to waseda wenzangu tulifikisha pale. Like you could feel now at least we had relaxed generally as a. So I was scared of. What if that happens to Kenya? Because we were there during Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Koigi wa Mwere, and the UN Kina Anyona, when it was their time. Yeah. And just having a leaflet was a problem. And now we even call it more Kenya when you're stealing it from the university. So that was my argument, was like, you always need to, if this is a line, push a bit further so you can always, because tyranny will always be taking and taking. So it's your job, if you believe in something, to always push it that side. Yeah. So let's fight here. Don't make a joke about instead of don't even speak about. So I'm a big philosophy is push as hard to make sure the battle line is way in your favor. Yeah.
And I like the philosophy you have about pushing back. It kind of harkens to these expressions about the price of freedom being eternal vigilance. What I found strange about these two gentlemen coming up and saying this within this very heated political context was it was more about what they were not saying than what they were saying, and I think that's one of the biggest threats to freedom of expression is the creation of this aura of silence and these big unsaid, things that you can't talk about, even when legally, very legally, you can understand what it is that they were implying. So, I mean, to be fair, they were implying that, if power is not changing hands constitutionally, it means a coup.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So why isn't that discussion happening now, right? Because they, by virtue of not talking about it, saying and not saying, have introduced this question of a coup, right? So is this something that you would talk about on your special?
Well, yes, because Article 239(4) of our Constitution makes it very clear that security organs should be apolitical. So the thing is, once you wade into a political question, journalists did not go looking for you, hey, Mr. CDF, what do you think about this, right? There's an intent to when you do that, right? The only difference between us and countries which have had like military juntas is that in Kenya, most of the public trusts the army to generally be apolitical.
To stay out of the fray.
Just stay out of our business. Every tribe sends their people there, and we just generally go fight Al-Shabaab or whoever it is disturbing us from the outside. So when you come back on the inside, the only reason we've never fought as a country to that level is because we don't give our political opposition arms, right? Because basically that's what breaks countries. I don't agree with you politically, and we both have guns. Pa, 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 pa. So we need the people who have the guns to stay out of the politics. So if even the NIS chief should not be a person who comes in. Your work is to like master of whispers. Like you listen, and then you go and report what are it's not coming to warn Kenyans. And by the way, guys, nimesikia. Of course, nimesikia. Like
That's
the
your
problem.
job.
Yeah, it's your job. It's your job. Like
I'm not hearing anything.
So at its core, there's a subtle way of it was the state trying to say these security organs are on our side, not your side. Okay, so. It's just telling you, I have the instruments of power, and the instrument of power agree with me. Yeah. Otherwise, because no media house went looking for NIS people. Yeah. It's after actually, it was on June 26 that I think after the former Vice President Gachagua said the NIS was a problem, and ministers from his community showed up and went to say like we are not. This is NIS. This is not a maize scandal. Like this is something like we trust. So when you come and we all know we will impeach him because it's not. He's take our guy away. So already that's an office that's already been highly politicized. Even with the chief, the guy in charge of the army. Yes. I keep wanting to say CDF. It is. Yeah, but then it confuses me because of the fund. Yes. So now it's after General Gola has passed on, right? And then the new guy comes and says, "Hey, by the way, guys." Yeah. So maybe it could be totally innocent, but the optics are not good for you to see. And being apolitical is not about factually being apolitical. It's you need to even look
apolitical, completely apolitical. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Tom, we still have this gazettement that was put in place from June the 25th, that the army can be deployed in support of the police. And I wondered about what your thoughts were, given that we have this gazettement. And we are not a year out exactly, but we have put some distance between us and June the 25th, and then this discussion happens. If you were the journalist in that forum, then what are your questions to CDF Kahariri about this very big question? Because he's like Taya said, he's waded into a political discussion, and not only in word, but very much so likely, indeed, should they be deployed again? What would your questions be to him?
First of all, I'm not a lawyer. I'd like to ask Tai before I construct my argument here. No, I'm just asking. I'm informed. Being informed.
All right.
Tai, do you think, does it have to be degazetted, that gazettement, for it not to be effective anymore?
If a gazette notice does not have a date in which it has been shown to expire, it's assumed it will continue.
So till further notice.
That's how every law exists.
Yeah. And that's the same for all appointments. It's usually for a term of 3 years. And then, so this means that in case of another protest that is, what is it called? Treasonous?
Yeah.
National security.
national security, blah, 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 all those things. In case another event like that happens,
Yeah.
the military will just move in. Is that what?
The president has the authority to ask them now.
And they wouldn't have to go and sit again in parliament and pass these
no,
things.
no.
Okay, then this means, and the sequence of events that we've been seeing, I think it's very meticulously arranged in time to scare Kenyans out of doing things. And then you have the president also speaking about, you remember when he spoke and he said the police have told the police not to kidnap people anymore.
Yes.
It was an admission of guilt, but then also we didn't do it.
I was in charge.
Imagine stop.
Yeah.
Guys.
And all these things that are happening point towards an effort to scare Kenyans away from expressing themselves to the degree they did last year. And the CDF, I was just speaking with Justine, the most that I personally had of a CDF was when Ogola was involved, the let. And for him, he was the silent. You called it. You should be master of whispers.
Yeah.
He was. So that's for NIS. But for him, he was silent with it. This current CDF went on and he even quoted what people use as a slogan: "Ruto must go. This Ruto must go. Must be done constitutionally." And it's exactly what you all have said. But to me, it's more intimidation to Kenyans and proof that the army is on the side of these folks and the police, who the president has been calling independent for the past 1 year, but you obviously know that they're not because of everything. He was at a political party.
Yeah.
He was at a political event. I mean,
yeah.
and he spoke at a political event from a was it a sunroof or was it a stage?
I think it's a stage.
Whatever it was, a stage is even worse.
Because he had the intent, he sat down there, he thought about it. It's not like ati
And he walked.
wacha nichomoke kwa sunroof, nisalimia watu, and then now akaropokwa.
You know when you're ambushed to speak at an event and you're like,
yeah.
oh yeah.
Acha niseme kidogo.
No, sema mawili matatu. For him, it wasn't. For him, he was there fully dressed in his uniform, and he was at a political party at a political event, and that's obviously to show that all these instruments of power, quote unquote, belong on one side, and all you folks who scream Ruto must go and make noise about the government, or even notice Ruto's speeches over the past few weeks, it's been internet. You have to use the internet. What was the word he used? Responsibly. You have to use the internet responsibly. It can destroy a country, da-da-da-da-da. All those things point towards an effort to stop another June 25th and a revolution of that scale.
Justine, two questions. Are you a responsible user of the internet?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
I am absolutely responsible. I use the internet to make people laugh and to
Okay, don't say what else you use it for. It's okay.
and to educate and to send memes to my family. That's very responsible.
Very.
Yeah.
Number two, do you feel scared now that CDF Kariri has said what he has said, now that Nuruddin Haji has said what he said, Masangeli, are you feeling at all scared or threatened? The look says one thing, I just want to hear it from your mouth and confirm things.
I just want to say, come at me, bro. No, I'm joking. I'm like,
Come at her when I have left. Yeah?
I'll say I am absolutely scared because I have never held a gun in my life. I would not know how to fight a bullet if it came at me. I am not equipped. I don't have any kind of military training.
Yeah.
I don't even watch gun videos on the internet. I hide when I hear gunshots in a theater. Like, I am a very scared person all the time. But to see them do that, it's just kind of like a show of cowardice from their part. It's like we are afraid that what you're telling us is the truth, because a lot of Kenyans, I will say this, I will put this in a very straight line kind of thing. In, I think it's a month back or 2 months back, if I'm not wrong, the foreign principal secretary, what's his name, Singoe, tweeted a deep fake video in support of like the argument for like why they were handling the situation in Sudan the way they were when the parallel government was being formed here.
Yeah.
And when he shared that deep fake video, it was regular Kenyans who saw that video and were like, this is actually wrong, you need to take it down, you need to take it down. I was one of those people. And as many people who shared it, it was taken down after like 8-9 hours. It was up for a long time.
For a long time, yes.
And
Very cool.
The Sudanese government has actually like stopped the Kenyan government from saying things about their government, including like the tea exports who are going to their country. And if any tea export is going there, then it's going there illegally. If the Sudanese government is saying it's not, they've stopped all kinds of exports. So if the government itself is perpetually lying, not just to us as Kenyans, but to even people who they consider their allies, then if we say we don't want you to lie anymore, we don't want you to steal from us anymore, that is the most patriotic thing you can do. So when you tell someone in power to stop, well, they are like they can, like just stop. We don't want to hear any more lies. Like show up in an office for once, like not on the top of the roof of a car. But when you see that continually, and then someone brings out all the people with the guns, all the people who have been committing like some form of atrocity, extrajudicial killings, or the unit was disbanded, all those people on different stages telling Kenyans whatever it is that they're saying. It's, as Tom said, it's an effort to scare us, but also it's the realization that power just tries to protect itself again and again and again at the expense of anyone who challenges it. Because what we want as Kenyans is it's kind of very simple. It's like just stop stealing, stop being corrupt, try and make the economy work for whatever time period is there. Otherwise, you kind of have to exit. That's what the slogan is about. That's literally all we want.
I want us to start winding down now, right? And it's kind of like separate but similar to the discussion we were having. But when you're on stage, right? I'm sure there are like a bunch of jokes that you have, and you're like, hey, now if I say this one, this will have pushed freedom of expression too far. What is that joke, and why is it? But I guess the thing that I'm asking you is like, what are your limits, right?
Okay. Yeah. I think I have the privilege of having a bit of a legal background, even when I do comedy. So like I know the acts of parliament. If someone really wanted to come after me, they'd use probably the stage play and act, saying I don't have a license to have a public performance. Probably they'd show up with defamation as one of them, the NCIC Act, saying maybe I caused hate speech, or if I was on Twitter, cyber crimes. Right. So generally, there's that element of I kind of know what it is. But when I'm on stage, there's something I use called plausible deniability. You'll hear me use the word allegedly a lot. Because it's because if we are go to court now, there has to be proof beyond reasonable doubt, right? Sure. So even when guys come to me and they have jokes, I always tell them, okay, just put an allegedly somewhere there. Play a character. If you don't play yourself, play a character who would be saying this, right? Or have a disclaimer at the end or the beginning of your videos, where it's like, if push came to shove, you're still in a, yes, we'll tweet for you, free Justin. But being
just thank you for clarifying this, because that was going to be my next question. Are you speaking to Justine when you're answering this question?
Because what will happen is, and you'll go and be found innocent. That's fine. But it's if you've been arrested in Kenya, when you've dealt with the police, you know how inhumane that process is. You're never the same. Being taken to cell, and they know you'll be released eventually. But that stopping of your life for that second, it takes a lot for that to happen to you, and then you come back and are still, So at its core, I think I know where the line is generally when I'm trying to,
So and this leads me kind of like to my final question to you. I don't know if these folks over here have questions, but this will be hopefully my final one. During the May-June protest and what happened thereafter, there was this, I want to say, impression that Kenyans had that, there were no rules when it came to addressing yourselves to politicians. So, kusalimiana, kutuma salamu, etc. as an example. that's it fits in the definition of doxing. Then there's the silhouettes, right? And kasongo, kaongo, and all of these implications, right? So I guess the argument that I've heard is that these illegalities pale in comparison to the kinds of illegalities that have been perpetrated by the state, and therefore we must engage in similar fashion and sort of like meet them on the playing field as equals, people who are both breakers of the law. But that begs the question: do the ends, even in freedom of expression, justify the means that you take?
I think that's an argument I think people have had since time immemorial. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, the anarchists versus the moderates. I think the thing is, you will not be their equal. If you choose to go the radical way, you need to understand, are you ready to suffer the radical consequence? You see, if you say, yeah, me, I'm going to go and shout, kill the president, kill the who of Guyana or some country.
Allegedly. Mythical country.
So, whatever it is, down with the president of Indonesia, whatever I'm going to decide to do is, do I then have the backup of support accordingly, right? Because a good example is like the Mau warriors, right? Or even the guys who fought before. By the time Arab Samoa was fighting the white man, there are very many nameless people who have fought for freedoms we have and never got any thanks at all. There are guys who've been in the front line and will be remembered, we'll give them streets and all that. But you need to do something called counting the cost, right? And if this means that much to you, then by all means, please go ahead, right? But do not expect that your fellow Kenyan is going to join you every time. Like, you need to realize that not everyone is at that level of activism like you, right? Maybe if Justine gets arrested, she knows she can call Africa Uncensored, and there's a battalion of 5 lawyers they are waiting to, right? But when
theoretically,
theoretically. Okay, Mukhwana there is saying, nimetoka Norway, sir. But that's the thing is, we don't have enough in our country right now for like a battalion of lawyers who are willing to do this work for free. During that Mandamano, LSK really stepped up. I have to give it to Faith Yambo. But the thing is, when you're released the first time, after the cameras have left, and you have mentions and hearings after that, it's a very lonely road once you're done. And you need someone to hold your hand. Like, revolutions are very communal as well. And also, we still need to figure out the what next question. Because Tunisia had theirs, it's terrible now. Libya had theirs, okay. There's always external factors, but where we are like, this is what we want, right? But why it's not working right now with the leaders, because we are telling them functional issues and structural issues. They're giving us political solutions. So we are now at a place where, yes, if I decide I'm going to go and chant now at the street, which I think now is going to be harder because it worked the first time because government did not see it coming. Sadly now, even when we are planning on Twitter, okay guys, tunatokea kesho, tunatokea kesho. Like, the government is there with us really. Like, we don't have an avenue where the person we're protesting against is away from. We're just counting on the righteousness of our cause, right? We are just martyrs to a great cause.
So what next, Ty? And I said it was going to be my last question. I lied. Sorry. Yes, but
it's a very good question.
What next for you? Like, if you're thinking about this, this sliding scale of freedom of expression, and we are now tilting towards, the days that we had the Moi regime, and freedom of expression really was just something on a book that we used to read. What next for you? Like, you in many ways are at the coalface of this question. Where do you think the country is going?
I don't know. Maybe I'll call Casmel, get a suit and just join ODM. But I'm saying, at its core, what I do
is that the bar, right? Get a suit and join.
Become a young tuck for, I don't know what's this place called.
Wamunyoro.
Yeah, become Wamunyoro's young tuck. But at its core, I think we need better organization, right? Where we say, okay, Ty, you and your people need more freedom of expression. Okay? Then we say, Mukhwana, you and your people, we needed to push around healthcare and doctors and all that, right?
I thought you were going to say immigration and passports, but anyway, it's kind of more in your speed. Yeah. Anyway,
Schengen in expire next week. Where it's like, because the issues are so structural here and there.
Yeah.
Like if every office is being pressed by that side, we're not pressing the minister. We are going to that office saying like, guys, where is Shah? Where is Chief? You know, like when Raila would have problems with the election, he didn't go outside State House. He'd camp at IBC. Like me stock up and back and like, because politics can make people hide under their collective responsibilities. So it's like, if we can go to the streets, but the streets is a good thing because it's symbolic.
Yeah.
And it's good, but it needs better organization and that. But I still feel we need a better organization where we are very erudite, we are very like at a place where everyone understands.
Yeah.
The one thing for Kibaki did give people is he educated the masses. It's very easy for people to just be like, what pains you? And we have a section where we divide that. Even outside of elections is one thing to organize around, but to organize for accountability beyond elections. Yeah.
Interesting. Tai, thank you so much for your thoughts. I'd like this lady to my left and this gentleman to my left as well to wind up with your own thoughts about this question of freedom of expression. You, in your own ways, are also kind of at the front, you know, you're at the front lines of this issue. Even if you believe it or not, you really are a frontliner, right? Your videos are trending here today like no one's business. Talking about,
you know where you would be.
Fighting Islamists.
Yeah. So, what are your final thoughts on this issue?
Say what you want, man. Like, but I think one of the things that I'm realizing more and more. Journey, but also it's like iron sharpens iron kind of thing, like where you only get further faster if people around you are telling you the truth. You're in community with people who care about the craft, and I think we can transfer that particular set of skills to other areas in our life. So if you're out there and you want to talk about things, talk about the things with people who actually can want to do something about it. Because as much as we are really angry at the current government and their failings and their shortcomings and their 20 bobs for sure, like, you cannot forget that you have a dream, you have an imagination of what you want, and not just like the country to be, but your life to be, your family's life to be. So if that imagination still holds, what is it that you want to see in education? What do you want to see in your, even it could be as simple as like the face of your community area. If it doesn't have enough trees and you can lobby enough people so that it looks different, you can lobby for a public park. Those are the things I think people should organize around, because they give you spaces to be in community. You can, and in conversation. Yes, that's what Mwalimu Wandia told us. Good education is good conversation and being in community. And information. So however you can build those communities, that's how you step outside of just being angry, perpetually angry, and wanting to tell everyone we have problems. But outside of having problems, what is your dream? What do you want to see change? And I think your anger and the change you want to see kind of go hand in hand. You cannot just do like anger full express. You have to figure out the SGR to change. Like, it's very slow. Has no graffiti, they play no music, but you can get there. You can do it. So try and like build your imagination around the things you want to see too, because that's part of, maybe the people with the guns can agree that. But they just before I forget, police were like out there asking that their share is returned. Yeah. And you are pointing the guns at us. We don't have money. It's the guys who are sending you to us who have your money. So I think also think about yourselves, police, too. You know, your people, you have problems. Be out here and be consistent with your understanding of what pains us is probably also what pains you. So yeah, in the journey of your imagination as a police officer, also take the SGR with us. Don't just be angry and shoot us for no reason.
I love that. Like, imagine that sense of imagination of what a nation can be is such a powerful thought, Justine. So congrats on that. That's really, yes.
Taking me using the internet.
I was like, don't spoil it by mentioning Kendrick. Like, I was like, thank you. We got through
Oh
it.
my God.
We got through. No. Yes, please, Tom, please.
Okay. Put her in a cell or something and label it anti-Kendrick. But anyway, for me, it's so I was driving. I can't drive. Somebody was driving.
Oh, someone was driving you. Oh my gosh.
You,
I was in the back left.
Wale jamaa snacks.
In a foreign country. Okay, so
yeah, so driving along Gong Road and that place was dark.
Oh, Ngong Road. Oh,
Not
so
even
we got
Gong Road
Merudi.
only.
Okay.
No, just driving.
Okay.
Anyway, I was driving in Kenya, on Gong Road in Kenya.
Yes.
From a place in Kenya, and I'm Kenyan.
Yes.
Okay.
But your passport
going to a
was
place in
your
Kenya.
house, not.
No, I was going to my house in Kenya. So, going to. So anyway.
Kenya.
Kenya.
Kenya. Kenya. So.
Akitai, we should have you back more often. Aki.
You should be like a guest host.
I swear. Anyway, carry on. You're traveling in Gong
The
Road
invoice
in
will be
Kenya.
sent. The invoice.
Yes.
That's the guy by the way.
Hey, wacha. Now unachoma bure.
We're the number he invited you with.
Tom, maliza. Chwe, type.
Anyway,
Maliza.
so that Ngong Road stretch, hiyo barabara yote, it's dark.
Yeah.
It's dark, and I don't know is that Magadi Way?
Yes.
That Magadi Way is also it's Reloading Away, the one that
Reloading
connects
Away,
to Magadi Hospital. Yeah, that one is dark as well, like pitch dark.
Where?
There's a joke there.
Did they?
Justin.
Freedom of expression.
There's a joke there.
Responsibly. So that whole stretch is dark.
Yeah.
And I remember as the car was driving along that road, there was another car that was another trailer that was parked on the road, and we barely saw the hazard that was placed on the road. And we were speaking about, there's this joke, Audi boys and BMW boys drunk in the night just ramming into that car, and we were speaking about how tragic it could be and how graphic that scene would look at the end of it all. But then forget about that.
Yeah.
That there's drunk driving in there, but then there's also a road that isn't lit in the capital of a country that is considered the most advanced economy in East Africa. And Central Africa. Actually, most of Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, the country that works, that has things that are working, that has nice people, hardworking Kenyans. And to be honest, Kenyans are the most hardworking people you'd meet. Consistently showing up every day. Tunapenda sherehe, but we'll still show up on a Monday after a drunken night on a Sunday. And that still works, and we pay our taxes, over 30% of your tax every month. But then where does that money go that doesn't end up on the streets lighting your way as you go home? In someone's pockets. Someone steals it. When you go to a hospital and you don't get services and your child dies, what is that? It's somebody stealing the money.
Yeah.
Because there's a money flow in Kenya. Everyone is making money. The degree, it varies, but if a Boda guy makes 500 shillings today, he goes and pays fuel, and there's tax in that fuel. When he goes home and buys maziwa, daima, 60 bob, there's tax in that milk. When he goes and buys a candle, even there's tax in that candle. There's tax in every single thing, which means everyone in this country is contributing. It doesn't matter how little you earn, you're contributing a certain way to this economy. And it's such a shame that our leaders consistently work to make this country underdeveloped. Consistently. Year in, year out, as Kenyans are working harder, and if you're from school, you're obviously thinking you need to make money and you make 100,000, the government wants 30-something% of that. And you pay it because you don't have any option. But do you get what you deserve back? No. You're advancing in life, but you're consistently getting fed nothing and substandard leadership. And I think that's shameful. So it ties back to what Justine and Anto said. Just stand up for what you believe in. And if it's SHA that isn't working For me, if it's the street light that didn't make sense to me, where it was out at night, I'll make noise about it on Twitter until the governor of Nairobi County makes those lights work. If it's my county government that isn't working, I'll make noise about it. It's what matters to you. You don't have to make noise about somebody somewhere. Just make noise about something that matters to you, and I promise you there's going to be a community around that same issue, and they face that problem every day that will buttress your points wherever you'll be speaking. And I think that's how we get somewhere. It will be nafsi that we sometimes have as Kenyans, that as long as my kids go to school, as long as I go to a private hospital, as long as the house I'm living in is cool, when people are getting evicted along Madare River, no one cares about it. When things are happening in this country and you don't care about them just because you're safe in your home, it's not good. It's what keeps these things happening.
True. I mean, the power of your voice can't be, it can't be overstated. I think for me, this past couple of weeks have been interesting in terms of just reflecting about the journey that we've traveled, right? So, so I celebrate 20 years in my profession, in this profession this year, right? December the 5th. Years. 20 years. Wait, what?
See, we were trying to be respectful.
Yeah, and then we just had to bring time. By the way, never suggest this. All right?
Never.
So anyway, na kuangalia. Yes, okay. So, yes, 20 years. And I think about the journey that, imagine, I have a Gen Z. I have 2 in my house.
Congratulations,
right? Yes.
on your old age.
Guys, am I going to make this point today?
Yes, you are. You are.
One, yeah.
Yes.
We're being
So the point I was making is this. Like the journey that we've traveled just in the 20 years that I've been in journalism has been nothing short of remarkable, right? The kinds of things that we've evolved in being able to say, even your comedy, right? 20 years ago, perhaps maybe for a lack of imagination, but certainly because of a fear of what came before, just didn't exist. And I guess this is my word of caution to people across the continent who are suffering with this same issue is and feeling like it's not their place to speak up about it. If you think the cost of freedom of expression is high, try the cost of repression. That is multiple times higher and much more painful to be able to pay, right? So I'd end on that note, and my 20-year-old self in this profession shall say good night. And first of all, thank you, Ty. Thanks for giving us your time, your jokes, even though some of them, it's incredibly taboo to direct them at me. We'll forgive that for today. These 2 are fair game.
Noted.
Nani watoto, they'll grow out of it, right? Yeah, but Tom, welcome back. Yeah, stamp you to a few more times. Yeah, and just
the last joke you guys will
the last joke today, right?
Yeah, just for now.
Yeah. And to you folks who've been following us online as well as at home, thank you very much for following us. For all 545 people who've been on on X today, plus all of you on YouTube. I don't know if we're on TikTok today, but nonetheless, if we're not, you'll see some of the cuts from this show. Thank you very much. We shall see you next week. New topic, new guest, and same big picture thinking about what it is we're addressing. Have a good one, guys. Catch you on Spotify and Apple and all of your podcasting faves. We shall see you next week. Cheers, guys.